Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. My name is Isaac Laluz, and I'll be chairing the hearing this afternoon. Panel members participating today via WebEx and can be seen and heard are Ms. Atarodi, Ms. Manning, Mr. Bartolo, and Mr. Klassen. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. And today with us is, we have here Mr. Simon Lam. I don't know what's title, Senior Planner and Acting Director, Acting Deputy Secretary Treasurer of the Committee, Chris Pereira and Alex Chu. Participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentation to the committee using the said WebEx. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. These participants will be connecting either by their computer, a phone, a tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered speaker will be participating by audio only. We ask that you also mute your devices until you're called on to speak. And for those waiting online to speak, please make sure you call with the same telephone number you originally registered with. If you call with a different number, you will not be able to speak on the item. The land acknowledgement, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provision of the zoning bylaw, permission to extend or alter legal non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, email address, and because the Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending their notifications and appeal updates by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances, to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. For the hearing, I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter directly for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when the 5-minute mark is reached. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make the presentation. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer an application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to receive a notice are informed of the changes. Then individuals, either in support or in opposition to the application, will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker at the end of their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has the chance to address only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Now, for this afternoon session, members or staff, any conflict of interest to declare? No? Okay. Now, we have here one item to be, we have a request to close an application. I'll start with that one. And here is item number 36, which is 284 Parkview Avenue. Ali Shakiri, are you there? Mr. Shakiri?
Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East. Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Normally, you're asking to close the file. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir, yes.
Okay. Okay. Normally, we don't ask questions. We just go and do it. But we have here another speaker who wants to talk on these ones. They registered and we have to speak to them. That's why we kept it for this afternoon. So we have this. Anahita Montazian, are you there? Anahita Montazian? Is she there?
Mr. Chair, I do not see this person on the call.
No. Okay. All right, Mr. Shakiri, there is nobody online, just you. So we're going to address your request. Members, there's a request to close the file. Can I have a motion there, please? Ms. Satarodi?
To you, Mr. Chair, I would like to put forward a motion to close the file.
Thank you. Second, Miss Manning, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Shakiri, unanimously, your file is closed.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have a request for a deferral on one item, which is 190 Wedgewood Drive, application number 21. And here we have here the Riza Dadashi. Are you there?
Hi there, Mr. Chair. Reza Dadashi here.
Okay, can you state your name and your address, please?
Reza Dadashi, property address is 190 Wedgewood Drive.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a, we have here the 21. Okay, so could you please give us the reason why you want to close the file?
Yes, certainly.
Sorry, to defer
Sorry,
the
it's
file.
a deferral.
Thank
Yes. Yeah, the deferral is intended to address the comments from planning staff, as well as my neighbor, who I've been speaking to since February and provided comments 4 days prior to the hearing.
Yeah, okay. So now we have, normally we go to the decision, but we have one more speaker here. Bernadette Pellegay, are you there?
Say you're deferring to me.
Okay, can you please state your name and address, please? Is that Nazareno?
Hello, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please state your name and address for us.
Yes, my name is Nazareno Pileggi. I am Bernadette's husband.
Thank
We
you.
live at 188 Wedgewood Drive to the west of Mr. Dadashi's property, 190.
Okay, so you heard what's happening. The agent is asking for a deferral, meaning we will not discuss it today if we defer the application. So when it comes,
Yes.
then at the time you'll be advised and we'll take it at that time. Today we won't discuss it if we decide to defer it. So any question? You're okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're okay with that. The only comment I would make, Mr. Chair, if you allow me, is that the reason we only spoke to Mr. Dadashi on the 19th, that's the same day we received the package from the Committee of Adjustment. And as Chris knows, the clerk, that's the day we received, and that's the day we spoke to him about
Anyways,
it. That-
anyways,
just wanted to make that
anyways,
comment.
we will not discuss anything about the application or the process.
Okay, yeah.
How you, at the time when it comes back, then you can address the question. Right now, we're addressing the deferral. So members, we have.
Sorry,
That's okay. Members, we have a deferred application request. Can I have a motion? Ms. Manning?
Through to you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to defer this application, sine die.
Sanidai, thank you. Second? Mr. Bartolo seconding, all in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, your application is deferred Sanidai, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. 21, deferred. Okay. Now we have our first application, which is number 20, 1448 Lawrence Avenue East. And here we have Adrian Litavsky. Are you there?
Yes, this is Adrian Latavsky here. I am the planning consultant working on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Could you please just repeat your name and address, your own address, so we can record it here?
Certainly, it is Adrian Latavsky, L-I-T-A-V as in Victor, S-K-I. The company is Johnston Latavsky Limited, and our office is at 235 Lakeshore Road East, Suite 202 in Oakville.
Thank you. Okay, so we have here just one variance to increase the GFA, and we have nothing, just one variance and nothing else. Members, do we need a presentation here? No? Okay, sir, we don't need a presentation. Do you want to add something before we move to
Hi,
committee?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I do have a question for the applicant.
Okay.
Could the applicant explain to me why this is coming when 12 months ago this committee already approved a very similar application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this application is to increase a GFA to food store uses only. And as opposed, it's not to increase a permission, like an overall GFA permission. In fact, there is no new construction proposed. The purpose of the application is to allow a new food tenant, in this case, a bulk barn tenant, to use an existing retail unit that's there. I will admit I was trying to think of which application you might be, the committee member is referring to. There have been applications in the past in which we have been involved, and those related, though, to the increase of restaurant space on the site. And that related to the construction of 2 new pad units that were being built at that time. This is different. This is, as I mentioned, regarding a food store use. The use itself is permitted. It's just there is a use-specific cap that's in place on this site. What I can say is the cap that's there today was many years ago, and relates specifically to the No Frills store that's on site there today and has been there for decades. If one were to look at the statistics, the existing GFA cap for food store uses is pretty much completely occupied, filled by that No Frills store. And so therefore, in order to allow the bulk barn tenant, we would need to increase that permission to reflect that new store. And that's exactly what you have before you today.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You're okay?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Klassen, you're okay? Yeah, I understand the limited number of stores is limited, so you're extending only that area, but basically the GFA is not being touched really. Okay.
Yes. Correct. There's no new GFA.
Yeah, okay. So, can I have a motion, please, to approve the application? Mr. Bartolo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, given this is an expansion of an existing use, I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application.
Thank you. Second?
Thank you.
Mr. Klassen seconding, all in favor? Okay, thank you. So, sir, your application is approved for that variance and there is no conditions.
Thank you very much.
Okay, number 22, which is 32 Owen Boulevard, application number 22. And here we have James Peffer. Are you there?
I am here.
Okay, can you please repeat your name and address for us, please?
Yeah, I'm James Pfeffer of 3 Bridgman Avenue in Toronto, Ontario.
Thank you. So we have here the new dwelling. We have 12 variances. The staff report is asking to modify number 2, number 3, number 6, and number 8.
I think you're looking at the wrong staff report. The staff report is recommending modifying variance 2, 3, 6, 8, and eliminating variance 9.
That's exactly what I said. Modifying 2, 3, 6, and 8.
Oh, sorry.
And eliminate number 9 per April report. And then they have also to build in according with the site plan. And forestry, 3 letters of support, and the councillor late letter has some concern, but let's see.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have here we got here 1, 2, 3 more speakers. Therefore, we need you to make a presentation. So please cover those changes there, and we'll hear the other speakers.
Okay, well in advance of this, hearing, the homeowner went around to the neighborhood and they did get letters of support, including letters of support from the immediate neighbor at number 34 Owen Boulevard. There are some other concerns from neighbors. I'll speak to those, I guess, after those neighbors speak. We didn't really have a lot of luck, I guess, kind of negotiating any kind of changes with those neighbors. We did talk to community planning, and working with community planning, we did make some changes to the proposal, and those are these changes. Variance 2 for length is being reduced by almost a meter to 22.54 meters. Variance 3 is being reduced by the same amount to 22.54 meters. Variance 6 for the rear yard platform setback is being made 1.52 meters to be in line with the house. Variance number 8, the ancillary building setback, also 1.52 meters. And we're eliminating a second eaved variance, number 9, for the ancillary structure. Now, and we're happy to have this tied to plans. So if you could pull up the supporting documentation that I had, just like to speak to these different variances. We had a presentation booklet, if that could get pulled up. Oh yeah, so you can see in this front elevation, I don't think there's actually anything very controversial here at all. As a matter of fact, I think everybody, loves this, but I'll speak to the variances that are required here. We are asking for a small half-meter variance in height, but you can't actually see that in this view because that's for the upper roof, which is behind this view. And you'll see our roof actually is higher in the center and it steps down at the side. So there's no impact of that height to the neighbors. Under the old law, there's a variance for the height of the main floor, but you can see actually even in this rendering that this site is on a bit of a hill and our ground floor is actually 60 centimeters lower than the existing house. And that whole, ground floor height variance is because of the slope of the site. The side yard we're asking for 1.5 meters, just a little over 5 feet. There's smaller variances all over the neighborhood, including the existing house is, 0.9 meters on both sides. The house to the left, 28 is actually 1.3 meters. So we're very much in keeping with the context in that way. So the front is something I think everybody loves. If you can go to the next page, that's the site plan. And I think some of the concerns of the neighborhood are about the depth of the building and about that large tree in the back. So as you mentioned, there's an urban forestry condition. We're going to have to apply for a permit for work near the tree. We're going to do that. Our interests are aligned with the neighbors and that we intend to preserve this tree, and we're going to have to work with urban forestry to do whatever it takes to preserve that tree when we apply for a permit for the work near the tree. The other concern, I guess, that's been raised is about the length and depth of the house. On this plan, and I don't know if you can blow up the footprint of the house a little bit, the red line shows an as-of-right footprint with a 19-meter depth, which is what we're allowed. And you can see the back of the house only projects a very small amount beyond that. There's a single-story extension in the back. The length is, of course, measured from that articulated front to the back of that rear single-story extension. We're doing this on a very long lot, a lot that's 175 feet deep. So whereas usually this area allows for 35% lot coverage, we're only 30.5. So it's not a big house for the lot. The owner has definitely purchased a lot that's appropriate for what he intends to build. And the community planner said that the length and depth variances that we're looking for are in keeping with contemporary development in the neighborhood. And on the last page of our booklet, if you guys are interested, you can see, you don't have to switch to that, but you can see other houses along this block that, you know, go back further than what we're proposing. Here's an aerial view of our property relative to the neighboring properties. You can see that large tree, which we made our rear yard in order to accommodate that tree. There's going to be 75, 78 feet behind our proposed house. There's a lot of rear yard. We aren't going to have any shadowing or privacy impact. We're not asking for a coverage variance. We're not asking for a balcony variance. We're not asking for any landscape variance at all. So we've really made an effort here to do a house which is very much in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and it's going to be very comfortably at home with the neighbors.
Hello, can you please summarize, because we have two more speakers?
I think I've said.
And we'll be back to you.
Yep, I'm finished. Thank you very much.
We'll be back to you, okay. So we have here one more speaker, Tom Anderson. Tom Anderson, are you there? Okay, we'll skip to the other guy.
Tom, you are now unmuted. You can speak.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, are you
Can
there?
you hear me now?
Yeah. Could you please state your name and address for us?
Certainly. Tom Anderson,
Okay.
23 Lower Links Road.
Thank you. So tell us what you're concerned about this application, and you saw the changes that were made. They eliminated variance number 2, 3, 6. No, sorry. They modified 2, 3, 6, 8. They eliminate number 9. So could you tell us what's your concern after this change?
Certainly. I'll try and be brief. Just according to Mr. Peffer's original submission, under variances 7 and 8, he refers to the rear lots having a natural screening due to their similar depth as to the lots on OWEN Boulevard. The 23 Lower Links and the lot to the east of us are both 120 feet. So that natural screen does not exist. I still have an issue with variances 2 and 3, even with the modified dimensions that Mr. Peffer has alluded to. The building length is still 33% longer than allowed by the bylaw. The building depth is still 19%, and I wouldn't characterize either one of those as a minor variance. I commiserate with the people on either side when it comes to the size of the building and the shading. We're predominantly concerned with privacy on our property, and especially with the second floor balcony, which is on basically the extension out the back, and how it's going to be looking into our backyard.
Okay.
I know that there's the other issues around trees. I understand that isn't necessarily applicable here. I do have issue with the hard surfacing and the overall size of the building, but I again understand that that isn't applicable at this committee. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So the changes they made, number 2 to 22.54 and number 3, 22.54, you still have issue with that one. So we'll see when he comes back, explain what he can do about that. And the members, do we have any question to this speaker? No? Mr. Klassen, do I see your hand? No. Okay, and next speaker is Jiangrui Wang. Are you there? Jiangrui Wang, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, please state your name. Okay. Yeah, state your name and address for us, please.
Yeah, my name is Evan Chen, and 34 OWEN Boulevard.
Okay, and tell
and
us.
my wife, Jiangrui Wang, is here.
Yeah, tell us what
here
your
with me as well.
Tell us what's your concern about this application.
Yeah, okay. First of all, I want to make it clear that we do not support this application. After looking into the letter that the committee sent to us, we realized that I was misled by the owner of 32 OWEN when he showed up at our door. We object the variance 2, 3 about the length and depth. The variance 4, 10 about side setbacks and variance 1, 11, 12 about height. Those variants will direct impact our living privacy and blocking lots of sun's views significantly. I will explain more here. For the length depth, this proposed house will be about 11 feet deeper than our house for the 2-story part and more than 20 feet deeper, including the 1-story kitchen extension. This is when we look to the side in our backyard, we would see the side of his house rather than the neighbor backyards there now. Also, the proposed house will block all sunlight in afternoon when we are sitting on our deck. Also, the proposed house will have an 8-foot balcony over the top of their kitchen extension. There would be a 2nd-story balcony looking over our back fence. This will be a loss of privacy to our deck and backyards. Also, we want to point out the houses on south of OWEN Boulevard are not compatible with the our houses on north of OWEN Boulevard. Actually, 55 OWEN Boulevard is 224 feet length corner lot, and 35, 45, 83, and 103 OWEN Boulevard houses are all on the south of OWEN Boulevard, which backyards are facing to the 180 feet deep locks on Gordon Road. In this case, the locks between south of OWEN and Gordon are 360 feet in length, but the locks behind us to lower Links Road is only 119 feet. That's 69 feet less in lock length. In this case, the impact on our surrounding neighbors are much greater. Also, there's no house on our side of OWEN Street exceed the 17 meters limit in length from what I can see at the moment. For the side setbacks, our house side setback is 1.8 meters as supposed. It was built about 6 years ago. I think we all should follow the 1.8 meter required to protect our privacy from both families. I'm not sure if there's any newly built house side setback less than 1.8 meter in our area. From what I can see, some old house has less side setbacks because they are either bungalow or much smaller houses. That means they are either much lower than normal two-story house or much shorter in depth. As a result, they're not blocking too much sunlight, although their side setback are less than 1.8 meter. For the height, exceed the height will block more sunlight from us, and we will lose more privacy as well. I think that's what we are concerning.
Okay. Thank you. Any question for the speaker? No. Okay. The last one we have is Mitchell Schneider. Are you there?
Mr. Chair, it looks like there is a question.
Huh? What?
I had a question for the speaker. I might have misheard it.
Oh, I'm
something.
sorry. I didn't see it. Okay.
Okay.
Which speaker? This last one, yeah? Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang?
Yes.
Yes, we are here.
Okay.
My husband just spoke.
Your husband, okay. There is a question for you after your husband's made the presentation. What's your question?
Okay.
It seemed like you were saying that there were other houses with the same length and depth that the applicant is proposing, but you said that the impact on the surrounding neighbors is much greater for this house. And I'm wondering why.
For this side of the houses, because we are on the north side of the OWEN Boulevard, the street, and the example they use to justify is use the south side of the OWEN Boulevard's house, which the lot between the south side of the OWEN Boulevard and the Gordon Road is much more distance between the much bigger lots for those two.
They're further apart. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, further apart. Yeah.
You're okay? You're okay? Any other question? All right. Mitchell Schneider, are you there? Mitchell Schneider?
Yes, Mitchell is here.
Okay, could you please state your name and address for us?
Yes, just one thing before I start. I believe you said I was the last speaker. There should be a fourth speaker who is also registered to speak today.
Sir, we'll check whoever is registered. Could you please make your presentation?
Yes, I will. My name is Mitchell Schneider at 25 Lower Links Road. Before I get started, can I request that the materials I sent with my registration request be displayed? Our kitchen, den, bedrooms, and rear deck look directly at the back of 32 OWEN Boulevard, so many of these requested variances do directly and would negatively impact us. I therefore object to the following requested variances. I object to variance number 1, as this would make the house taller than either of the two houses directly adjacent to it, one of which is new construction. This massing is not necessary. There is nothing architecturally interesting about the proposed block of a house. The zoning is in place so the houses don't stick out like a sore thumb as this would, and request that this variance be denied. On the page that's being displayed right now, what is shown here is a section of a City of Toronto map showing the outline of the adjacent houses to the subject property, which is in the center. The two houses to the west are on the left side of the diagram. The two houses to the east are on the right side of this. And next page, please. And what this shows is that all of these houses abide by the 17-meter depth. This is what people look forward to. It is fair, it is equal, it shares the views, it shares the sunlight, and this is why zoning is good. If you could change to the next page, please. What this page is showing is that the requested building length being 18 feet longer than is allowed by the zoning bylaws would result in the main rear wall of the proposed house extending 11 feet past the main rear wall of 34 OWEN and more than 16 feet past the main rear wall of the house at 28 OWEN. And this would cause a loss of sunlight to these neighbors. Also, this particular lot has two big trees, one huge tree in the backyard. The trunk is 1.4 meters in diameter. That's 4.5 feet is the width of the trunk of this, as shown on the survey, of this huge tree in the backyard. This drawing shows that the excavation for the house's foundation, and especially for the 10-foot deep excavation, which would be required for the basement walkout, would extend 15 feet into the tree protection zone of this huge tree, which is, of course, not permitted by the city's policies. I therefore object to variances 2 and 3. These would result in the excavation for this house and the basement walkout injuring this tree, which would likely eventually kill it. Concerning the neighborhood opposition to these requested variances, all the surrounding neighbors are here today to object to this building length and other variances requesting. In addition, letters have been submitted to the committee, both from the local Ratepayers Association, the St. Andrews Ratepayers Association, and by Councillor Jay Robinson, in whose areas this development would be, opposing the length variance number 2. That is, the direct neighbors, the local Ratepayers Association, and the local city council all object to the requested variance for building length. Concerning the letters of support the applicant has submitted, one letter is from 34 Owen Boulevard, who is here today and has stated that he was misled into signing this letter and he does not support this application. Another letter was from 8 Troon Court, which is 1.5 kilometers away, so has no bearing on this. The third letter of support is from the owner's own home address, which is many streets away and should not carry any weight due to its distance from this property. The applicant's architect submitted a letter dated April 19th, 2022, and it cited 8 addresses which are claimed to have received comparable building length variances. However, 4 of these are corner lots, so are not comparable situations. One is a pie-shaped lot, so is not comparable, and the other 2 are for smaller variances. So I believe it can be concluded that the applicant's claims of support are false and their claims of comparable precedence in the neighborhood are false. Finally, concerning the 4 statutory tests. First, I note there is nothing unusual about this property. It is a rectangular lot, it is not a corner lot, and there is no significant change of grade within the lot. The length variance requested would result in the proposed house's sidewall extending more than the full depth of the rear deck of 34 Owen Boulevard, walling in his entire deck and preventing it from receiving sunlight. I would suggest this loss of sunlight to the entire deck and the loss of views means that the length variances should not be considered minor. It is not the built form and character of this neighborhood to have substantially differing length houses or to have neighbors fully blocking sunlight from neighbors' decks. Also, finally, allowing houses more than 18 feet longer than are allowed by the zoning will annoy neighbors and create divisiveness in the neighborhood. Exceeding the building length zoning by this extreme amount would not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Instead, it would make it appear that the zoning bylaws don't matter anymore. Approving such variances would set a precedent, and this would not be in the public interest and create destabilization in the neighborhood. I would therefore suggest these variances do not pass the 4 tests. I therefore request that variances 1, 2, and 3 be denied. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. You got on your 5 minutes exactly. Thanks. Okay. We have here just registered Jeff Schneer. Are you there? Jeff.
Hello there.
Yeah, Jeff. Could you please state your name and address?
Jeff Schneer, 28 Owen Boulevard.
Okay, and could you tell us what's your concern after all you heard so far?
Yes, so I am the direct neighbor to the west of 32 Owen, 28. There is no 30 Owen, so I'm the direct neighbor. We've lived here for over 25 years. Shortly after we moved here, we added to the back of our house, and we had to modify our plans because the new setback at the time had changed. So the back of our house has a larger setback from the side than the addition has a larger setback than the original house, which was built somewhere in the 1960s. So we complied with the rules at the time. I would expect that these rules are there for a reason and therefore should be maintained. The build at 32 Owen is requesting 12 variances. All the lots on this street are 60 feet wide, over 180 feet deep. There's no need for variances. Builders can certainly build within their limits. The builder knew the lot size when he bought it. There's nothing unique about this property, It's perfectly rectangular and flat. Nothing requires a variance. In particular, I object to the following variances. Number 2, the building length. This is over 18 feet. An 18-foot wall over 33 feet high is not minor, in my view. Again, we stayed within the requirements when we built our addition, and I think this builder, as well as all builders, should. This will substantially reduce sunlight into our backyard. We are directly to the west, so sunlight will be reduced until about 2 p.m. in the summer. Same idea for number 3, building length, building depth. I'm not sure what the difference is, but 11.5 feet beyond whatever that maximum is huge. Number 5, the minimum west side yard setback to 0.28 meters beyond the minimum allowed. This is about a foot of extra space between our houses and an area that already has drainage issues. Yes, our setback is less than the current rules, but it's the original house on the property built in the 1960s and adhered to the regulations at the time. When we added to the back of our house, we had to modify, as I said, to increase that side yard setback, as you can see on the drawing. Number 11, maximum building height, 1.41 meters above the maximum height allowed. That's over 4.5 feet higher than permitted. This will negatively impact the amount of sunlight in our backyard. There's no reason for it. Variance number 1 also refers to building height. I'm not an expert to figure out the difference between the two, but again, these variances are not needed. I also have an objection to number 12, the finished first floor height. The request again is to have the first floor height about a foot higher than what's allowed. This would place their back deck that same amount higher, I assume. And it'll probably lead to increased drainage problems between our houses. I've already mitigated these drainage issues in the past, and I'm not really looking forward to any more problems. An additional comment is that when the builder approached me a few weeks ago, he asked me to sign a document that, I quote, simply says I've seen the variances. Upon reading it, the document also stated that I agree with the variances. I told him what the document actually states, and he pretended to not realize what the document actually stated. Of course, I didn't sign it. This lack of honesty should not go unnoticed. He lied to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any question for this speaker? No. Okay, so Mr. Pfeffer, back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So could you please address those concerns? You see a lot of them. So
I can, and I'll start by addressing this, implication that the owner was not honest with the neighbors. I mean, the owners went around to talk to all the neighbors. The plans were certainly available to all the neighbors, and I think the owner, who does not have English as his native language, made an honest effort to communicate with the neighbors, and he and ourselves were always open to discuss anything about this project with any of the neighbors and to explain what we were looking for, how it fit with the neighborhood, and to work with people to try and make something better. So the idea that the owner was not honest with the neighbor, I certainly take exception to. A few of the people who spoke are on lots to the rear, and I think there was can you pull up my booklet, please? Actually, the site plan page. There was some commentary made about the fact that the lots to the rear are only 125 feet deep rather than this lot. The lots on both sides of Owen Boulevard are 175 feet deep. So the lots on the north, the lots on the south are really an apples to apples comparison. And if you take a look at, not these plans, but our actual booklet, the first speaker, Tom Anderson, said that we're looking for a building that's 33% longer than what's allowed. There's been a lot of discussion about this depth. If I could see that supporting material, the site plan page shows that red envelope. And that red line is what can be built as of right. That's the projection into the rear yard that one can build as of right. There was a diagram shown saying, oh, there's this line that all these houses are in keeping with. They may be in keeping, but that's not what the bylaw intends. It is a part of the nature of gradual change in these neighborhoods that houses do go back into the yard as the zoning bylaw allows them to. And what we're asking for is not considerably, hardly even notably longer than what the zoning bylaw allows. We're 11 inches past the allowable rear corner. On the west side, we're 2 foot 3 inches on the east side. There isn't going to be any shadowing impact, certainly no privacy with an as of right balcony. We're not looking for a variance for the landscaping. We're not looking for a balcony variance. The homeowner at 34 had submitted a letter of support. They're retracting that. They did have the homeowner's contact information, and I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to further dialogue with them about that. They did mention privacy from the balcony. We're not asking for a balcony variance. They mentioned the side yard setbacks. In the area, if you go to the next page, you'll actually see, the next page, you'll see these yards, and you can see, you can see this is an aerial photo. You can see the type of shadowing. The property owner at 34 or 28 rather said, oh, there's going to be shadowing in his rear yard. There's not going to be any afternoon shadowing from this house because his house is on the west side. Lots of sun there. The 1.5 meter setback, variances of 1.2, very commonly approved in this neighborhood. We see in the next page, you can see where we found the variances we referred to as examples of contemporary buildings similar to what we're doing. All of these lots we thought were comparable, on both sides of Owen Boulevard. They're comparable. And we chose to look at kind of a study area for what we were doing that, of lots, not of different shapes, not of those lots on Carnworth or the north of Lower Links. We looked at the lots that were comparable. The letters of support we got are all from people within this neighborhood of St. Andrews Woodfields, and the owner did not write a letter of support for themselves. If you just go through the next 2 pages, if you could just scroll through very quickly, you'll see houses that are comparable to ours. I mentioned the fact that our height is all in the center of the house. It's the drainage roof. It's on a hill. The old law bylaw variances wouldn't be required if we weren't on a hill. And at the very end here, you'll see the aerial photograph. And in the aerial photograph, you can see this section of Owen Boulevard. If you zoom in there, you can see there's a lot of other houses on Owen Boulevard that go further back in the lot than what we're proposing. Yeah. And that's both to the left and the right. So what we're keeping, the planner agrees, is in keeping with the change that this neighborhood is seeing. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I finished your 5 minutes, and we'll be back and see if there are any questions. Now, just a comment about the people. We make our decisions based on the 4 tests of the Planning Acts. We look at the decisions and at the variances. The staff looks at it, and we make it strictly on the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Any peripheral comments, we hear them all the time. This one only to make money, this doesn't want to live here, this one wasn't honest with us. Those don't put any weight on our decision. Strictly on the variances and the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Now, we have here, there is the staff report say you're modifying number 2 and 3, and those are the main comments that I get here, which is you change it to 22.54. Now, the councillors, we got a late letter from the councillor, has concern about the same thing. When did you make this change of 22.54, and what's the decision about that?
We made this change, I guess, probably about 2 weeks ago, so the zoning notice couldn't change, but we did send in the revised plans to the committee. And I'm sure there's a date on the website of those revised plans to the committee. And then I guess, so if the counselor is referring to the old number, I mean, the number that we've changed this to has been up on the application information website for some time now. For I'd say at least 2 weeks, but I would have to check exactly.
Okay, no, it's okay. I just want to find out. Let's see what the members are saying. Any comments on the, could you please remove the, okay, thank you. So, any question? Mr. Bartolo? We don't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you. We can't hear.
Is that okay?
Okay,
Oh.
now it's okay. So please start again.
Sorry about that. I said the applicant had noted that the building length was only 11 inches longer than what's permissible. When I did the quick math on the new proposed length, I got 5.54 meters difference, which is pretty significant. So if you can just comment on that, please.
Yeah, and if I could do that, referring to that site plan that I had. So I hope I didn't say that the length was 11 meters more than what was permissible. I was referring to the depth. A house, the rear wall of a house is allowed to be 19 meters back from the permitted front yard setback. And in that northwest corner of the house, the corner that we're proposing is 11 inches further back than that 19 meters. So the front of the house is articulated. The overall length of the house is to a single-story extension, which is located at the middle of the house. So the length of the sort of main two-story box of the house is about 18.8 meters. So it's longer than what it's allowed, but it's on a long lot, a lot that we think is appropriate for it. It's the depth, the distance where the rear wall is allowed to be located at, the spot in the rear in the lot where the rear wall is allowed to be located. In that northwest corner, we are 11 inches further back. That's adjacent to number 28 Owen Boulevard, who was the last speaker. So the rear wall of the house is very close to where it's allowed to be, and there's no shadowing impact or no side view impact beyond what is foreseen in the bylaw. So we're in keeping, in those terms, we're definitely in keeping with the intent of the bylaw. I would argue, and I think the city planner saw the same thing.
Any other?
I hope that's clear. If you look at that diagram I have, I don't know if you have a hard copy of the booklet itself. It's on page 2. In red, you can see that box, which is kind of the as of right footprint, which would be 17 meters long, but the back of it is allowed to be 19 meters back from the minimum required front yard setback.
It's just the one-story difference.
Yeah, and then beyond, and then there's that one-story addition. You could see it could actually be quite wider. Ours is centrally located. Again, it's a little bit deeper than what's allowed, but it's right in the center of the lot. It's above that the balcony is. The balcony is less than 4 square meters, so there's no balcony variance required. And being, in the center of a very large lot like this, off the master bedroom for very quiet occasional use, there's not going to be an overlook concern from any balcony off a master bedroom, in my opinion, but particularly one in a location like this.
Okay. Any other question? No? Okay, if there is no question, can I have a motion, please? Anyone for a motion?
Okay.
Mr. Klassen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've listened to the applicant, to the residents. I read the letter from the councillor and staff reports. I'm going to move to refuse this application. It does strike me as going beyond what is minor, and so I will move to refuse the application. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion to refuse. Second? Oh, I have 2 seconds. Okay. Which one was first? Can I have a second? Okay, Miss Manning, second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So, sir, we have a motion here we have a decision here to refuse the application. So we get to number 23, which is 11 BUNTY Lane, application number 23. And here we have Murat Özgür. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you please state your name and address for us?
Okay, my name is Murat Özgür, and I'm the agent for 11 BUNTY Lane.
Okay, we have here, it's a new dwelling. You got 6 variances, including them a 3-story. The staff report has only conditions, but could you please explain give us a 5-minute presentation, because we have like 1, 2, 3 more speakers to speak on this application.
Sure. Can you please show the sporting material that I sent? Okay. The subject property is located on 11 BUNTY Lane, east of Bayview Avenue, north of Station Drive, and south of BURBANK Drive. The property is zoned RDF15 A550 X5 under the new bylaw 569-2013, and R4 under the former municipality of North York bylaw. Regarding the variances, variance number 1, as you can see, the permitted maximum height of all side exterior main walls facing a side lot line is 7.5 meters. The proposed height of the side exterior main wall facing a side lot line is 8.27. Also in the staff report, it's also said that this is in order to accommodate the windows as shown on the side plans. And the rest of the side of the wall height is where there are no windows is 7.72 meters measured from established grades. Variance number 2, this is regarding the 3 stories. The proposed 3-story variance is considered a technical, as it is due to a landing for the mudroom between the basement floor and the main floor. You can see the shaded area, that's the mudroom. Because of that mudroom is the floor closest to the established grade, and therefore it's considered as first floor. But when you look out to the front elevation of the house, you can see that the proposed building has 2 stories above established grade, and building height is 9.95 meters, and it's not a variance. So actually this house is 2 stories, but because of this technical issue, the zoning review says that it's a 3-story. So as you can see again in the sections, you can see where the mudroom is and where the first story is. And from the established grade, it's only a 2-story house.
Okay.
Variance number 3. This is regarding the coverage of the lot area. The proposed application has a lot coverage of 31.98%, whereas the zoning bylaw permits maximum 30%. And the lot coverage approved in the surrounding area are approved as 32%, such as you can see in the plan, in the map. 34 Morewood Crescent is approved for 31.98. 17 Michael Crescent is approved for 31.96. And 31 Palomino Crescent is approved for 32% on March 24, 2022. Variance number 2, this is regarding the porch. I'm just going to be fast. The porch area is, because now the porch, the first floor is considered like a second floor. That's why the porch area is considered as a second floor. And that's why it is a variance now. And also about the deck area at the rear, again, it's because the first floor is like the second floor. It's a variance now. And variance number 5 is regarding the North York zoning bylaw. It's the midpoint of the roof. The maximum building height is 9.2. That's what we are proposing. Sorry, 9.04, but it should be 8.8 meters. And again, in the surrounding area, there are some other approvals, which is like, such as 17 Vineclear Crescent approved for 9.1 and 31 Palomino Crescent approved for 9.2. So, yes, these are my explanations.
Okay, very good. So we'll be back to you after we hear the other speakers, okay? So we have here
Sure.
Daniel and Julie Barida. Are you there?
Hi, can you hear me right now?
Yes. Could you please state your
Okay,
name?
perfect.
Your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Daniel Barida, and I live at 15 Bunty Lane, which is on the north side of 11 Bunty Lane.
Thank you. Tell us what you're concerned about this application.
All right, so there's a few concerns that we have. The first one is there are 2 windows on the north side of the house on the first floor. Our kitchen window is approximately 12 feet in length and gives us a view of the street and brings in much needed light. Our kitchen sink is directly in front of the window, so we are often standing at the window looking out to the street. Not only will the new home completely block our view, which means we will be looking at a massive 3-story brick wall, there are 2 windows that appear to be directly across from our window, which might not be the safest situation in case of a fire. I'm not entirely sure if there are bylaws that prevent a new home with a window that faces the window of an existing home. Also, it will be uncomfortable for us and our neighbors to have our family looking directly into their home while we have our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The second issue we have is the proposed home's porch sticks out beyond the front of our home and is 12 meters high, which will only block out more of our view from the street and our kitchen and the facade of our home and property. So it doesn't line up along with the existing homes on either side of that. The third one is the proposal indicates that they would like to remove the existing chain link fence between our home and 11 Bunty Lane and replace it with a new fence. I noticed that they want to follow the original 1956 survey, whereby the property line is a straight line that divides the properties. When we moved into our home in 2006, we noticed that our backyard and the fence line extends beyond the property line set in 1956. The neighbors who had lived there before us didn't have an issue as the fence had been installed in the 1980s or earlier. Since this property line existed for at least 30 years, from my understanding, this becomes the set property line. Number 4, the last one, I'm interested, I don't know if this is actually related to this conversation, but I'm interested to know if they will be removing the 20-foot cedars in the backyard on the north side that divides our properties in the backyard. They give us privacy. There are plans to remove a tree on the property, and I'm curious which tree that might be. overall, I see that there are a lot of variances, and I just would like them to respect the existing bylaws.
Okay,
That's all I have to say.
thank you. Yeah, the existing bylaws, I understand. The existing situations, we can't do anything about the fence. We don't have anything on our list of variances showing any fence and the windows. So we look at the variances, and as far as the hedges at the back also, we don't deal with that. There is forestry who deals with the trees, and we don't. So let's see if the members have any question. Any question for the speaker? No? Okay, so the next one is Lisa Fong. Are you there? Lisa Fong.
Yep, this is Lisa Fong.
Okay, could you please state your name for us and your address?
It's Lisa Fong. My address is 12 Bayberry Crescent.
Thank you. So tell us what's your concern about this. Is it something different that you haven't heard yet?
Well, I'm not really sure where to table it because I'm not sure if they're aware of it, but our property shares the far east or northeast corner of their property, and theirs is about 2.5 to 3 feet higher than ours. It currently doesn't have a proper retaining wall, and we're just not sure where we can table our concerns about the lack of retaining wall between that's on our sharing our property line, and the water drainage from their property to ours.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, if that was your questions, as far as the drainage and the retaining wall and all these are taken care of at the time of the permit, the construction, they'll take care of it. We don't deal with it here, because if they didn't have these variances here,
okay.
If they didn't have these variances here, they wouldn't be here, and they'll go and do exactly what you're saying they can't do. So that will be taken care of at the time of the permits when they ask for construction. Now let's see if there is anybody else.
Okay.
Did you have anything else?
That was all.
Okay, let's see if you have any questions for the speaker. No? Okay, so we have one more here. Michael Fong, are you there? Is that the same with you, Lisa?
Yeah, the same.
Oh, so it's the same. So we just can move on, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Osgur, can you come back, please? Okay.
We have
so
no setback where, yes.
So can you please address the concerns that you have heard?
Yes. So regarding the first speaker, like I said, this is not a 3-story house. Normally it's a 2-story house from the established grade, as indicated in the city planners also report. And it's just a technical issue because of the mudroom, and because of the mudroom which is close to the established grade. That's why it is considered as a 3-story. And regarding the setbacks, we have no setback variances. We are not asking any side setback variances. And regarding the porch, again at the front, again we have no setback issues. That is permitted in the bylaw. And also about the trees at the back, we are not removing any trees. And the trees in the front, we are mostly using the same driveway, and we are we already make an application to injure the trees at the front. Yes.
Okay.
These are my.
Thank you. This explanation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any question for the speaker? No? Okay, then can I have a motion then, please? Mr. Bartolo?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I've heard what the applicants had to say and the neighboring residents, and I understand the technical nature of this three-story issue. It doesn't really function like a three-story building, and I have no concerns there. So I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application, subject that it be developed substantially in accordance with the south side
North side.
elevation, the north elevation, and section plans submitted to the committee.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Second. Mr. Klassen seconding. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, sir, the application is approved, subject to the report, to the condition per site south, site north, and section plan elevation drawings.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. 23. Application number 24, which is Martin Ciccone. Martin Ciccone, are you there?
Yes, I am. Martin Ciccone, 229 Erskine.
Thank you.
51 Glengowan.
Okay, thank you. So we have here the this is regarding 51 Glengowan, and we have two-story.
Correct.
One variance. TRCA report has no objection. Members, do we need any presentation? No? Okay, sir, we don't need any presentation. We're going to move to the decision. Do you have anything to say before? Or we just go on?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Miss Tarodi?
Yes, it's a very straightforward application to you, Mr. Chair. I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with no condition.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Bartolo, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, your application is unanimously approved and there is no conditions.
Thank you.
Number 25, which is 28 Danby Avenue. And the speaker here is Murat Ozgur. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have here a new dwelling, 7 variances, and the transportation has no objection, just the usual conditions. Do we need a presentation here? No? Okay. Sir, we don't need a presentation. We can move into the decision. Do you want to add something?
No, sir.
No? Thank you.
Sir, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I have a question regarding variance number 6 with the lot coverage of 34.12% versus 30%. I would like to get some explanation in that respect.
Okay, Mr. Ozgur, there is a question for explanation as to the coverage. So
yes.
Please go ahead.
Can you please show me again my, the explanatory notes, the notes that I sent? Yes. Can we go to number 6, please? Yes, that page. Okay. As you see in the number 6, the permitted maximum coverage is 30%, and we are asking for 34.12. So the proposed application has a lot coverage of 34.12, whereas the zoning bylaw permits a maximum of 30%. The lot coverage approvals in the surrounding area are approved as over 34%. The surrounding neighborhood and the proposed coverage is consistent with the existing physical character of the neighborhood, such as you can see in the map. If you can zoom a bit more, please, to the map, if possible. So in the same street, we have 70 Danby Avenue, approved for 37.4% on June 19, 2013. 96 Laurel Crest Avenue, approved for 37% on May 8, 2013. You don't see it in this map, but it's very close. 11 Dorchester Avenue, you can see on the map, is approved for 34.5% on June 2nd, 2020, which is very nearby. 5 Yeomans Road is approved for 35.4% on October 7, 2020. 21 Cayona Avenue is approved for 34.23 on March 11, 2021. And recently, 2 weeks ago, 24 Almore Avenue recently approved in the committee on April 14, 2022 with 36.11 coverage. So, like I say, the proposed coverage is consistent with the existing physical character of the neighborhood. These are all my explanations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, can I have a motion then, please? Ms. Manning? Please go ahead.
Through to you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application subject to the conditions of transport, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Second. Mr. Klassen, all in favor? Opposed? Ms. Tarodi is opposing. Sir, your application is approved, subject to the condition of the transportation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 26, which is 27 Bradgate Road, application number 26. And this is Mr. Rubinoff.
Good afternoon.
Hi. I know who you are, but we have to record it on the system. Your name and your address, please.
Yes, it's Glenn Rubinoff, Rubinoff Design Group, 18 Gloucester Lane, Toronto, Ontario.
Thank you. This is a basement addition, walkout deck, one variance, staff report just to build per site plan, and there is nothing else. Members, do we need any presentation? No? Or question? If there's any question, let's hear it now. No? Okay. So, sir, we don't need any presentation. Do you want to add something before we go to committee?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Okay, so if there was no question, can I have a motion then, please? Mr. Tarodi?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application, which only one of the staff recommendation and the condition that the building depth be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing attached to the report. And also, that's it. There is no other condition.
No, thank you. Second, Ms. Manning is seconding. All in favor? Okay, thank you. So your application is approved, subject to the condition of the staff which to build according to site plan.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Number 20.
Mr. Chair, can I suggest a break, a short break?
You couldn't find a better way. Thank you. Thank you. How about 10 minutes? I need it so badly. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Huh? Don't tell. No, I know, but Here is your glasses. Yeah, very good. Okay. All right, we have a quorum. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're in session. We're back in session, and we have here number 27, which is 125 Rochester Avenue. And the gentleman we're asking for is Mahir Manios. Are you there? Mr. Manios? Mahir Manios.
Can you hear me, Mr.?
Yes, now we hear
Yes,
you.
I can hear you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, could you please state your name and your full address for us?
Sure, it's Mahir Manias, number 1, Teakwood Grove, Toronto, M3B, 2H9. And I apologize, our internet is a bit sporadic today, so
That's
hopefully
okay,
you can hear me.
You're not the only one. Welcome to the club. Okay, so here we have a new dwelling, 6 variances, 6 letters of support, and nothing else. Members, do we need the presentation here? Miss Atarodi?
Yes, I appreciate maybe an explanation.
Okay, can you please
regarding the setbacks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Manios, could you please give us a short presentation as to the merit of your application?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Mr. Chair. Are you looking for a presentation?
We need the presentation as to the merit of your application. You have a new dwelling. Please tell us what you're doing and why we should approve it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, also one explanation regarding variance number 1 and 4.
Well, he's going to have a presentation. He'll cover everything. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll start, but if you can let me know, Mr. Chair, if I'm breaking up because of our internet connection. So the proposal is for a new 2-story dwelling to replace the existing dwelling and ancillary structure. We are requesting 6 variances. Variance number 1 and 4 pertain to the east and west side yard setback of 1.37 versus the required 1.8 meter setback. I just bring to your attention, Mr. Chair, that the required 1.8 meter setback is based on an 18 meter frontage, which is the zoning bylaw requirement. We have submitted as part of our presentation material, supporting material of April 22nd, 3 pages of previous decisions to show that this is within the realm of what's being developed in the neighborhood, whether it's renovations or additions or new dwellings. The latest example is actually the house to the west, which shows on some of the pictures that we've submitted. Committee had approved it at 1.37. The east neighbor, which is an existing dwelling, has a 1.22 meter setback. But if you notice on all the 3 pages of previous decisions, this is follows the character of what's been approved in the area, just given the fact that predominantly 90% of the properties in North York, part of Lawrence Park, have the same frontage of 15 meters. Hence, they're all less than 18 meter, and the 1.2 actually setback is the common one. We're requesting 1.37 meters. And we do, as part of also the supporting material that we submitted, we've provided letters of support. We do have both the immediate east and west neighbors supporting this application. Variance number 2, which is building length, we're requesting a variance of 19 meter versus the 17 meter required. The reason for the variance is the 1-story rear projection at the building. It meets all the requirements for projection from depth, width, and height. Unfortunately, it doesn't comply with the 3 meter setback from the side yard. Hence, it's considered as part of the building length. the actual two-story portion of the dwelling is 16.99 meters. So it's only because we've elected to shift it slightly to the west, and we do have the support of the west neighbor. Variance number 3 and 5 pertain to the building height. This is a flat roof building. The requirement is substantially less than a required pitched roof. So we're requesting 7.67 versus the allowable 7.2 meters. And if staff can just go to the presentation material, supporting documents, to the front elevation, the actual leading edge of the house, the main part of the wall height, actually complies with the 7.2 meter. The variance is only to that mechanical plenum which sticks up from the roof, and it's actually set back about 1.4 meters from the front of the house. So it's actually not visible. So you can see so it's that portion at the top of the roof, which is in variance. The main part of the wall is actually complies with the 7.2 meter. In the supporting material, we provided some pictures of houses. So I don't know if staff can go to page 6 of the supporting material. Should I hold? Yes. So this is perfect. Actually, the two pictures go hand in hand. The top house. This is actually a house we did just around the corner from this one, where we did the same thing. The height is 7.2 meter. If you look at the second picture down from it, it shows just a remnants of the portion of the house which exceeds. And in that house, we actually went to 7.8 meters, and which was approved. But it's completely not visible. And this house is sitting at grade, whereas the one we're doing at 125 Rochester is sitting on a hill. So it's actually completely not visible from the street, just given the fact that it's set back 1.4 meter from the leading edge of the house. Also in the presentation material, further up the pages, we've shown a comparison of how this house relates to the two adjoining houses. Actually, the opposite way around, sorry. Staff, there's two elevation drawings. So, yeah, if you could keep going up, please. So this one here shows how this house will compare to a pitched roof house, which will be completely contained within the wall, not the roof. And this elevation here shows how it relates to the new house that has been built on the right-hand side and how it compares to the house on the left-hand side. So it's substantially smaller than if we had elected to go with a pitched roof, which is the second slide below this one. Variance number 6 is the first floor height under the North York bylaw, which is 1.58 versus 1.5. The reason for the variance is because the house is sitting on a hill, and you can see on this elevation here, the broken line of the center line of the road indicated at the bottom of the drawing. There's a 1.37 meter raise in grade from the center line of the road to the front wall of the house. And actually the house is, we've put it as close to the ground as possible. It's actually 7 centimeters lower from where the existing one is.
Okay.
And it's only 0.2 meters above established grade. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you exceeded your 5 minutes. Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Any questions? Mr. Ataro, is covered your items? Yeah, thank you. Any other question? No? Can I have a motion then, please? Mr. Klassen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciated the very clear presentation, and the variances requested are minor. They are in keeping, and they do meet the 4 tests. I will move to approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Second? No second. Mr. Bartolo, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. So, sir, your application is approved and there is no conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, now we have 28, which is RJ Crescent, application 28, and here we have David Eagleman. Are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, Sir Chair and committee members.
Your name and address, please.
My name is David Eagleman. I'm a planner at Design Plan Services, 900 the East Mall Suite 300, here on behalf of the owner.
Thank you. We have here 1, 2, 3 more speakers. Your application is regarding a new dwelling. We have 10 variances. Staff report is asking to modify number 1 and number 3 and a condition. There is a forestry and 1 letter of objection, but we have 3 people who want to speak. So please make a presentation, a 5-minute presentation, so we can call the other speakers.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, before I get into my presentation, I would just like to note, if I could just ask that the committee pause the time, because we have amended the variances, and if the committee would like, I can verbally amend the public notice as per the revisions that we have made.
Yes, we like first, if you make any changes, please cover all the changes before we move on. So we like the number of application and what you're changing it to.
Yes,
Okay.
so through you, Mr. Chair, we have submitted a revised set of plans and a revised zoning notice to this effect. So variance number 1, which pertains to the length, has been reduced to 24.35 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, and number 3?
Yes, number 3, variance number 3 has been increased, which is an improvement, to 9.01 meters.
Okay. Could you hold 1 second? He changed number 1 to 24.35. What was your question? Of course he's talking. Well, I have the right to talk and he has the right to talk. So could you please continue?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Those are all the changes to the variances, just variance number 1 and number 3.
Okay, what else?
Those are all the changes.
Okay, so please go ahead. We'll give you 5 minutes.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. It was a bit broken up there. Can we repeat those changes, please?
Who's talking here?
It's me.
Who's me?
I just need the changes repeated.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So through you, Mr. Chair, and I will note these changes are noted in my cover letter, and we also submitted a revised zoning notice, but the length variance, which is variance number 1, has been reduced to 24.35 meters. And the front yard setback has been increased to 9.01 meters.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the only changes. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, before getting into the variances, I would like to note that we have consulted with community planning staff regarding this application and have made revisions to the proposal and requested variances to the satisfaction of community planning staff, as indicated within their report dated April 21st, 2022, and I find their recommended conditions to be acceptable. I've also reviewed the memorandum from Urban Forestry issued for this application and find the recommended forestry conditions to be acceptable as well. Regarding variance number 1, the proposed building length has been reduced to 24.35 meters, and the proposed dwelling has a unique design to accommodate the curvature of the street directly in front of the subject property. As a result of the unique design, the proposed length of 24.35 meters will not be perceived from the street from any single perspective. This is due to the fact that the west half of the dwelling has a different length than the east half of the dwelling. The proposed building length of 24.35 meters is taken from the furthest portion of the front main wall on the east half of the dwelling to the furthest portion of the rear main wall on the west half of the dwelling. As such, from the west side, the proposed dwelling will be perceived to have a length of 18.69 meters, and from the east side, the proposed dwelling will be perceived to have a length of 22.87 meters, which are both less than the actual variance that we are requesting. Regarding variance number 2, similar to my discussion on the proposed building length, the proposed dwelling has a unique design to accommodate the curvature of the street and the unique lot configuration. As a result of the unique design, the proposed building depth of 23 meters will not be perceived from the street from any single perspective. Moreover, the proposed dwelling will be generally in line with both the adjacent dwellings in respect to the location of the rear main wall and will have little to no impact further than what is contemplated by the bylaw. Regarding variance number 3, the proposed front yard setback has been increased to 9.01 meters, and the proposed front yard setback is largely due to the irregular front lot line of the subject property and is only for a pinch point along the front main wall. A majority of the front main wall is set back 10 meters or greater from the front lot line, and the proposed dwelling is generally in line with the front main wall of the adjacent dwelling at 98 RJ Crescent, as well as other dwellings along RJ Crescent. Regarding variance number 4 and 5, both variances relate to the exterior main wall height, with variance number 4 relating to the front main wall and variance number 5 relating to the rear main wall. For both the front and rear main walls, the proposed main wall height is taken to just below the peak of the proposed roof. This is a result of the unique design of the front and rear main walls, where the main wall height steps down at various points along both main walls. On the east side of the front and rear main walls, the proposed wall height will be 6.87 meters, which is compliant with the bylaw. On the west side of the front and rear main walls, the proposed wall height will be 7.69 meters, which is only 19 centimeters greater than what is permitted as of right. Regarding variance number 6 and 7, both variances relate to the exterior main wall height, with variance number 6 relating to the east side and variance number 7 relating to the west side. For the west side exterior main wall, the proposed wall height is taken to just below the peak of the proposed roofs, which is the same measurement as the front and rear main walls. However, the portion of the west side main wall that is closest to the west side lot line will be at a height of 7.48 meters, which is compliant with the bylaw permission. For the east side main wall, the closest portion of the east side main wall to the east side lot line will be at a height of 6.87 meters, which is compliant with and is 63.63 meters less than what is permitted by the bylaw. Regarding variance number 8, the proposed north side yard setback of 1.2 meters is just for one side of the dwelling and is only 60 centimeters less than what is required by the bylaw. The proposed dwelling is compliant with the bylaw requirement on the south side and will be similar to and in keeping with other side yard setbacks within the neighborhood, such as the north side yard setback of the adjacent dwelling at 94 RJ Crescent, which is 1.43 meters. Regarding variance number 9 and 10, both are under the former North York zoning bylaw 7625 and are only required due to outstanding appeals to the current bylaw 569/2013. These variances are more technical in nature, and the proposed new dwelling is considered as a sloped roof and is compliant with the maximum permitted height as per the current bylaw 569/2013. Based on the provided justification, I am of the opinion that this proposal fits in with both the existing and planned context for the neighborhood, is consistent with the redevelopment trends along RJ Crescent and the broader neighborhood, and for these reasons, I believe this application represents good planning and meets the 4 tests.
Wow.
Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. You're very good. You want exactly 5 minutes. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, you're very good. Okay, now let's see. We have here, as I mentioned, 3 more speakers. We have Scott McDowell. Are you there? Mr. Scott?
I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes,
Could you please state your name and address for us?
Certainly. I'm Scott McDowell, and I live at 94 RJ Crescent, immediately to the west of the subject property at 96.
Thank you. Tell us what's your concern.
Certainly. I only have one concern, and that is with respect to the requested front yard setback. I had a chance to speak to Denise McMullen to better understand the nature of their recommendations. And I think that both her group and we reacted to the same variances in the original proposal. My main concern, though, was that the front yard setback was being cut in half, basically. And you've got various figures being used here. The city uses 14.68 as a required setback. I've seen the developer quoting the figure 13.95, and I've also seen 14. I'm using 14.68. So their ask of 7.54 was basically, cutting the setback in half. That didn't really seem to be a minor variance. And Denise, in explaining some of the tests that she does on these proposals, one of which being whether, if the applicant got everything that they'd asked for, if that could withstand a legal challenge. She clearly had some concerns there too, with respect to the size of both the building length and the front yard setback. I am assuming that the committee has read the written piece that I submitted. I don't have to go over that again.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, you're set? Okay. Thank you. We'll see. Are you finished?
No, I'm not. I'm just asking if folks have read that written piece I submitted.
Okay. I'll see if there's any questions. Members, any questions?
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry. It's not coming clear. What's your question?
Mr. Chair, he asked.
Who are you asking?
He asked if the panel has read his correspondence.
To panel to respond. Okay, well, sir, we hear your concern. We'll have the agent respond to those concerns, and then the committee makes a decision. The committee does not.
Okay, well.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not finished. I didn't have an answer to my question. Perhaps you let me finish what I have to say here. Number one, the degree of setback reduction in the front yard means that I'm looking at in excess of 5 meters of blank wall in front of what's my living room window. It blocks out, depending on where you sit in that room, from 50% of your view to as little as, say, a quarter of the view. It also throws a huge shadow. But the alternate, the reverse of that impact on me as an individual is that this area surrounding the parquet, it's a little circular parquet in the middle of RJ, it benefits from a magnification of the space of that parquet by the shared area of privately owned but publicly shared space in the front yards of number 92, 94, and 96, which is also a transition zone between the regularly spaced homes on the north segment of RJ Crescent, where it comes in from Bayview, and it's running east-west, to where it curves north and around this parquet. The setback requirements protect everybody's view of the parquet, and we in fact granted agreement to a setback of the original builders so that they could see past our house across into that shared space. Granting this requested setback reduction would have the effect of pinching the public approach to the parquet, narrowing the publicly enjoyed space, and it would basically set up, there's an application on the other side of me at number 92, apparently to subdivide the lot. It's basically going to cause us all to just say, the heck with it. In our redevelopment, we're moving forward. And that transition zone between the narrower front yards of the eastern portion of northern RJ and the huge lots that you hit within 3 houses to the west of us, it will be a very abrupt transition, and it will be a loss of the green space that magnifies public enjoyment of the parquet. Now, the problem is this is all unnecessary because the applicant, if you were to go to the statistics box on the first site diagram of the most recent application plans, you'll see that in the backyard, they have 2.79 meters of unused space. basically the size of front yard setback that's being requested here is only necessary because the applicant does not want to fully utilize the space they have in their backyard. And in fact, the applicant, if they did use that space in the backyard and move the house rearward, they could get by with an 11.8 meter setback. That would be the 901 that they requested, plus the 2.79 meters of unused space in the back for a total front yard setback of 11.8 meters. That would completely resolve any issue I had with loss of view, shading. It would protect their front yard space as framing the park and adding to its perceived space. And when I come to redevelop, I would not move my house forward. We have a 70-year-old tree in the front yard. It's beautiful. It flowers in the spring. And we've already got a pretty short front yard. I would be willing to do my bit to maintain this green space around the north edge of the parkette if I was given some support in evaluating what is truly a reasonable request on front yard setback for 96. Those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just stay there, see if there are any questions. Any question for this speaker? I don't see hands, no? Okay. Next speaker is Hani Fadali. Are you there? Hani Fadali?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Say your name and your address, please.
My name is Hani Fadali. I'm the owner at 92 RJ Crescent.
Thank you. So tell us what's your concern about this application.
Actually, I'm here in support for the application.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
Oh,
I mean, I
okay.
do understand the concerns of our neighbor Scott at 94 RJ, and I had actually also spoken to the owner at 96 RJ, and also understand they had done their best to address the front yard variance by stepping the house back and offering a transition. So just all in all, like I've reviewed the variances, and I feel they're minor and consistent with the developments on the street.
Thank you. That's refreshing, and I'm sure they appreciate it. Okay, so I don't know if nobody should ask a question about this. This is only support. So we have the next one, Gaston Allegri. Are you there?
Mr. Chair, Gaston is not online.
He's not?
No.
No. Okay, so Mr. David Edelman, could you please come back and address those concerns before we go to committee? Mr. Egelman?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I will note, in response to Mr. McDowell's concerns, I will note that we have worked with planning staff on this application, and we have made revisions to the proposal to their satisfaction. I will note that Mr. McDowell mentioned the front yard setback of 7.54 meters, but that was our requested variance prior to our conversations with planning staff and making revisions to the proposal. So we have increased that to 9.01 meters. And that variance is just for a pinch point along the front main wall. So for the furthest point of the front yard setback, our front yard setback is 19.28 meters. And along the entire front main wall, the front yard setback increases from that 9.01 meters. And I don't believe that it will block any views to the parkette in the middle of the court. It is directly in front of Mr. McDowell's property, and he will still be able to have views of the parkette. And we have worked with planning staff and have come up with a proposal that is satisfactory to them. So I believe this application, the requested variances are minor. This is a good application, and it represents good planning and meets the 4 tests.
Thank you. Questions? Any question for this speaker? Okay, if there is no question, can I have a motion there, please? Mr. Bartolo?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I've heard the case from both sides here, and I'm in agreement with the applicant and the staff on this one. I'll put forward a motion to approve this application, subject to the following conditions: that variance number 1 be changed to 24.35 meters. Variance number 3 be changed to 9.01 meters. That the front yard setback be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan attached to this report, and the exterior main wall heights be developed substantially in accordance with the east, west, and side and front elevations attached to this report, and subject to the conditions of the urban forestry memo attached.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Second. Mr. Klassen seconding. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Sir, your application is unanimously approved based on those changes you made, the staff condition and forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You too. Number 29, which is 99 ALMORE Avenue, application number 29. And here we have Eric Hedden. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Your name and your address, please.
Yeah, my name is Eric Hayden. My address is 455 Dover Court Road, and I am the agent representing 99 Almore Avenue.
Thank you. So we have here just a second floor. We have 3 variances. Staff report, just a condition to build per site plan, and 1 letter of support. That's all we have. Any, do we need the presentation here, members? No? Okay. Sir, we don't need the presentation. We can go to the committee directly for a decision. Do you have anything to add?
No, unless you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions? If not, Ms. Satarodi?
Yes, I have no question. I'm ready to put forward a motion.
Please.
So to you, Mr. Chair, I think it's a very straightforward application, and therefore I would like to put forward a motion to approve this application. I only want to include one of the staff recommendation as this condition to be attached to the decision, that the proposal be developed substantially in accordance with the site plan drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment as on 21st of March 2022, attachment number 1 of the report. That is the motion.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Bartolo seconding. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Unanimously approved. Your application is approved, subject to only condition of the staff to build per site plan.
Thank you, Committee.
Okay, so that's 29, almost. Okay, application number 30, which is 604 Riddell Avenue, application number 30. And here we have Will Hudson. Are you there?
Good afternoon, committee. Yes, I am. My name is Will Hudson of Hudson Architecture. We're the architects and agents for the owner.
Thank you. Okay, so we have here the no 3-story dwelling, 4 variances, and I have nothing in my record. Members, do we need a presentation here? No? Okay. Sir, we're going to go directly to committee. Do you have anything to add before we go there?
I do, and I apologize for holding you up. You guys are rolling. There is an important part of this application which came up through community planning consultations that we did. And the variances have changed. It's in the
Okay,
support package.
excuse me. Okay, in this case, please take your 5 minutes and give us your presentation as to the merit of the application.
Okay, great. I'm not going to talk too much about the body of the application, except the variances. So these arose when we consulted with community planning. So the first variance has been changed. Instead of reading 1.12 times the lot area, it should read 0.87. The second variance is unchanged. The third variance has been removed completely. And the fourth variance is true, it stays, it's there, so it remains. So effectively, there's only 3 items for review.
That's it?
Yeah, and I apologize for it. It was basically confusion with the original zoning examiner. He updated his zoning review. It's attached to the support material, and it's consistent with what I've just said. So,
okay, there is no apology. This is better. You put us up to date. So number 1 is changed to 0.87, and number 3 is removed, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Members, any question? No questions? Okay, can I have a motion then? Ms. Satarodi?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. This is a very straightforward application, and with the modification that the applicant provided, it's very minor. So I would like to through you, Mr. Chair, would like to put forward a motion to approve this application with the following changes. Variance number 1, the proposed floor space index is now 0.87 times the area of the lot, and the variance number 3 eliminated. That's the motion.
That's it. Thank you. Second, Mr. Klassen seconding. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Sir, your application is approved based on those changes you made. Okay?
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Number 31, which is 50, BOWERBANK, application number 31. Here we have Ben Baghdadi. Are you there?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is Bamdad Baghdadi from BBA Design Studio. I'm the architect and the applicant for this application before you today.
Okay, so here we have a second floor addition, 3 variances. Staff report is asking to build per south elevation drawings, and we have 4 supports in 1 petition. I don't. Yeah, could you please just comment on the 3-story?
Yes, Mr. Chair. If I may ask to have my report on the screen, please. If you can scroll down to page 4, which shows the front elevation. No, one more page, please. More. Yes, if you can zoom in onto the elevation, please. Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. As you can see, our existing first floor plan, which is the top red line, is farther away from the middle red line, which is the established grade. And as a result, the existing basement is closer to the average grade. This is a technical variance. So the basement is counted as the first floor. And this brings the house into the 3-story. And as a result, we have a deck variance, which if we can go to the next page, please. As you can see, the ground floor deck is counted as a second floor, and as such, we have a variance for it. So basically, this is a 2-story house, and it's a technical variance. being the existing basement closer to the average grade.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all I asked for. This is really a two-story, but it's a technical one. So we don't have anybody else registered here. Members, any question? No, there is no other people registered, so please give me, if no question, can I have a motion then? Mr. Bartolo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. This is a pretty straightforward proposal. I understand the nature of the three-story request here, and I'm in agreement with the applicant and with the community planner. I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application, subject that it be developed substantially in accordance with the south elevation drawings submitted to the Committee of Adjustment attached as attachment number 1 of this report.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Tarodi, all in favor? Okay, thank you. So, sir, your application is unanimously approved. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee. Have a nice
based
afternoon.
on that
Thank you.
condition, okay. Application number 32, which is for 145 Burbank Drive, application number 32. And here we have Tony Henriks. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, your name and your address for us, please.
My name is Tony Henriquez. I'm the agent for this application. I'm at 543 Concord Avenue.
Okay, this is regarding a second-story addition, 3 variances. Now, there is some changes here. The staff report asked for, per applicant, you made some changes. So please tell us what the changes are, starting with the number of the application and what your number of the variance and what you're changing it to.
Yeah, basically, I just made one change. I aligned the deck with the left side of the house, looking from the front. And basically, the only thing that did was it eliminated variance number 1. I did submit drawings for a zoning review and got an updated zoning review, but unfortunately the notice had been sent. So, and I actually submitted to the committee a revised zoning review, and the only change is item number 1 has been removed.
Number 1 removed, yeah, okay. That's all you're making. So how about number 2? There was a change there, wasn't it?
No, the number 2 did not get affected. I mean, I'm requesting variance number 2, and that's basically just by increasing the side walls of the house forward a couple of feet, just for decorative features. And that's how item number 2 was created, but that's existing.
Yeah, well,
that hasn't changed.
The staff report said modified number 2 per applicant. You modified from 6.53 to 7.03. Was that?
Yes.
So what's yes?
I haven't modified anything. I think that was a miscalculation by the zoning examiner.
Okay, so you're not making anything there?
No.
Okay, so just eliminating number 1, that's it?
Yes.
Okay, we don't have any other speaker. Members, any question here? He's eliminating number 1, and there is just a condition of the staff to build per site plan. Mr. Bartolo, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the applicant. Those wing walls that are cross-hatched on drawing number 2 that stick out 3 feet, that's what you're talking about, correct? That are
yes, that's correct. Yeah. So the front of the house doesn't actually project forward, but those walls do, and that's where I get the variance number 2.
I see. Okay. Tracking on that. Thank you.
Any other question? If not, can I have a motion then, please? Mr. Bartolo?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'm going to put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the following revisions, that variance number 1 be removed. And that is all.
I thought,
Can I make a,
yeah, I thought there was a question of the, to build per site plan. Are you okay with that or not?
I generally am. However, the applicant is saying that the site plan we have is not the correct site plan.
Okay,
Denise.
okay, there was an amendment there. Miss Manning, did you have any, you wanted to make an amendment?
that was exactly the amendment I was going to suggest.
So he's removed. Yeah, so I had it too, but he's okay, he doesn't want it.
No, well, let me rephrase. I have no problem tying it to a specific site plan. However, did the applicant not note that they had received comments back and there were revisions that were not reflected in this package?
Okay.
Like variance number 1? Is that not the case?
They only changed the element number 1. Second, can I have a second, please?
Mr. Chair, there is also an urban forestry report.
Oh, is there one? I didn't have it here.
It is in the package, but it is not on the list.
Hold a second, yes? Is what?
Staff report, RNFP.
Okay.
Members, in your package, you can see a staff report, RNFP.
Yeah.
That's the ravine one.
Ravine protection, yeah. Okay. So there is a condition there, huh? Okay, I didn't have it here. Okay, so there is the ravine protection, Mr. Bartolo, and I didn't have it here, but apparently it's in the package.
Yeah, the TRCA report has no objection.
Every member has the same the digital package we sent out.
Anyways, it doesn't hurt. You can add a ravine protection condition if there.
It's one of the bookmarks if you want to look at it.
Yeah, they can check with them.
Yeah, there's standard advisory comments, but there's no.
No condition.
No, there is a condition of urban forestry. Urban forestry condition number 1. That's it. So let me reiterate, just for clarity's sake, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application, subject to
elimination number 1.
The elimination of variance number 1 and subject to urban forestry condition number 1 as noted in the RNFP report attached.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, second. Who wants to second? Mr. Klassen, seconding. All in favor? Opposed? Mr. Tarot is opposing, and the application is approved. Sir, the application is approved based on the elimination of number 1 as you did and subject to forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, that's okay. He missed it, so.
No, I was worried what you said. You didn't get it. That's what I was worried.
Oh, me? Yeah. No, I have separate one.
You don't have a separate. You have the same visual.
No. I should have it, I don't have it. Number 33, 25 Barwick Drive, application number 33.
Karen Miller, 25 Barwick Drive. I'm the property owner.
Thank you. Barwick, okay, so here we have 33. This is a new garage, one variance, staff report, just a condition to build per site plan and per elevation drawing. and forestry condition number 1. Members, do we need a presentation here? No? Okay. All right, Miss Clifford, we don't need a presentation. Do you have anything to add before we move to committee?
I would just like to mention that we are going to be demolishing the existing garage, which has the setback of 0.3 currently, and rebuilding on the same footprint because it's in a state of disrepair. Although the new garage will be smaller, it will no longer be a tandem, it'll be a single car garage.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? No question? Can I have a motion there, please? Anyone? Mr. Klassen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is minor. It's in keeping with the forecasts. I'd like to move to approve it and to make it subject to the staff recommendation. Thank you. And also to, yes, just to the staff recommendation, and also to urban forestry.
Thank you. Second, Ms. Tarodi, all in favor? Okay. Okay, your application is approved. Subject.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 34, which is 7 Shield Avenue, application number 34. And here we have Drew Laszlo. Are you there?
I am. Good afternoon. Drew Laszlo, agent for the owner, 3317 Young Street.
Thank you. This is just to modify the driveway, but the transportation report is set to refuse it. Could you please give us a presentation as to what's going on here?
Yes, of course. So transportation had really 2 comments, and I'd like to address those. Their first comment really just said, didn't really give justification for why they didn't want the driveway widened. So that's one thing I kind of didn't fully understand. The second part of the second comment they had really focused on the curb cut of the driveway and the position of the driveway. Now the curb cut, just so I'm clear, the curb cut is existing. It was approved by the city. The sidewalk has been repaired to facilitate the curb cut that was approved and accepted by the city. Again, they installed that curb cut. So the fact that they're commenting on it, I don't fully understand. Just as far as, just going back to the variance we're asking for, pretty well doubling the width of it. We conform to the front yard landscaping, or both front yard landscaping variances, which I think is important. And also, the committee should know that the frontage of this property is about 45 feet. It's actually slightly over. And on a 45-foot wide property, in many, many cases, I think in the majority of the cases, you will see a double car garage with a double driveway and double curb cut leading out to the street. In our case, we do have a single garage. Our curb cut, though, is single width. Okay, we're not asking to widen the curb cut. We want to keep it at single width. Again, we just want to widen the driveway itself. Excuse me. So again, we comply with the landscaping, the curb cuts, single width. We have letters of support from number 9 and number 12. That's the adjacent house and the house across the street. And actually, the house directly adjacent has a driveway the same width as what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I have the 2 letters of support. The question is, did you have to discuss it with the transportation? Why they're doing what you explained makes sense, but why they're asking to refuse it?
No, I actually didn't have the opportunity because they just put this up on Friday, and just based on past experience dealing with transportation, they will not change anything or modify their logic or anything if it's that close to a hearing, unfortunately.
Okay, so members, any question? I have two hands here. Okay, first, who wants to speak? Miss Manning, you have a question?
The transport report mentions concerns about traffic safety and operations. Do you have anything to say in response to that?
I mean, all I can say with regards to that is they put the curb cut in place. And if they had an issue with it, they should not have installed the curb cut that they did.
Mr. Bartolo, another question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's for the applicant. So you're not changing the curb cut, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So you're demolishing the garage to make a wider parking area on the property, correct?
We are not demolishing the garage. The garage is staying as a single car garage. We are just widening the driveway.
So when the car exits the property, it's going through the same curb cut in either scenario. It's turning onto the street in the exact same fashion as it is right now. Is that fair to say?
Yes, very fair.
I don't understand how this is any more unsafe or less safe than it was before.
That's right. Okay. Any other question? Okay, then can I have a motion then?
Mr. Chair, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application.
Okay, there is no conditions. Okay, second?
No.
Okay. Second, Ms. Manning seconding, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, 2 and 2. All right, I saw the thing too, and I couldn't find the real reason for refusal of the transportation. So I'll vote with the motion and approve the application as is. So there is no condition here. Sir, your application is approved, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay. (153) Ranley Avenue, which is application number 35. And here we have Martin Rendell. Martin Rendell, are you there?
I am, sir, yes.
Okay, so could you please state your full name and address for the records here?
Martin Rendell, 35 Delburn Drive, Toronto.
Okay, we don't have any other person registered, but here the addition of 4 apartment units, 5 variances, the parking, there's a question, and the staff report had 3 conditions, that was for November, and transportation report okay with conditions, and forestry condition number 1. Could you please give us a presentation, 5 minutes, and tell us exactly what we're doing here?
Thank you. This is an existing 4-story apartment building, and the owner is creating 4 new apartment units by the reconfiguration of some interior utility space. The addition of 4 units has triggered all of the variances here. So there's a variance for floor space index because there's an increase in residential floor area. The 4 apartments trigger variances from the indoor and outdoor amenity space. And then lastly, the 4 units trigger the parking variance, which are 2 variances. The first one, the main one, is for the amount of spaces. And I just want to mention the proposal, 18 spaces. In fact, we will have 20 spaces, so we have more spaces than are indicated on the notice. The other variance deals with the accessible parking space, which does not meet the minimum width of the zoning bylaw, but is an accessible space under the dimensions of the Disabilities Act of Ontario. This application, identical application, was before the committee in November. At that time, Transportation recommended a deferral in order to get additional information on the parking situation. In the intervening period, that information was provided by our transportation consultant to Transportation Services staff, and you have their report stating they have no objection to the parking variances. They are satisfied with the 20 spaces being provided, as well as variance for the parking space. Planning in November submitted a report basically having no objections to any of the variances, but attaching conditions to their approval, which we accept, as well as the conditions in the transportation report and the standard conditions of urban forestry. Basically, what the variances will allow is for 4 new rental units to be created within an existing building. There is no change visible to the exterior of the building. These are all internal changes. The amount of parking on the site is increased, and overall, there's, I think, a net benefit in terms of more rental units being created in an existing building within the building envelope, and additional parking being provided. In terms of the parking variance, as noted in the Transportation Services report, this is a highly transit accessible area. Transportation Services were very much satisfied with the parking survey information that justified the parking space. I know that City Council in December approved amendments to the zoning bylaw, eliminating minimum parking space requirements from new development and only regulating the maximum amount of parking spaces. I don't know if the committee has yet been briefed on those changes in the bylaw, but if that bylaw were applicable to this property today, we would only have to provide 5 parking spaces. We are providing 20. So I'll stop there, Mr. Chair, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions? Can I have a motion there, please? Mr. Klassen?
Sure, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So this is minor, and as has been pointed out, is in keeping with various city policies and strategies. So I'd like to move to approve it. I'd like to make it subject to the various conditions that city staff and planning and urban forestry and transportation have proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Bartolo? All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, sir, your application is unanimously approved, subject to those different conditions from staff, transportation, and forestry.
Thank you, committee. Have a good day.
You too. Application number 37, which is 187 Rowe Avenue, application number 37. And here we have Eugenia. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, can you please repeat your name and address for us?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of committee. And my name is Yuja Hu, and the address is 2347 Kennedy Road, and I'm the agent for 187 Rowe Avenue.
Thank you. So we have here a new dwelling with 11 variances. Staff report asking to refuse variance number 5 for the 3-story, and B, eliminate number 10, and transportation has no objection, and forestry 1 and 2. So please give us 5 minutes presentation and tell us what's the merit of this application.
Okay, yes. Could you have the plan drawing open for this application? So, the plans, please. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, thank you so much. So, so firstly, I want to address to the staff report, because we were having an email conversation with the city planner. He has some concern about the story of this building, and what he suggests is for us to lower the basement level in order to make this building a 2-story building, because our house is considered to be 3-story because of the garage. We want the first story to be above the garage, which makes it to be a 3-story building, but it's actually a 2-story building. So for the, as shown in the front elevation, could you roll up a little bit? This is a rear elevation, and for the front elevation, the entrance is actually dropped, and it's only 1.28 meters from the established grade. I think it's actually maintaining the nature of the neighborhood. And for the other variance, for variance number 1, the driveway width, we have adding a soft landscaping in between the driveway. So we are actually kind of eliminating some of the hard landscaping because that's caused by the driveway. And for the second variance, which is a minimum side yard setback, the original house, there was a 1-story house, and it has a setback of let me see it has a setback of 0.51, which we are improving it to 1.2 meters, the west yard setback. And the lot coverage, we had also had a conversation with the city planner, and they approve our requirement for 40% of the lot area. For the height of the exterior wall facing the side lot line, so on the elevation, the house has only a little bit of the side wall because want covering the top of the roof, and that's only a little bit of the side wall that's going to the side, which is exceeding the required height. The seventh variance is front yard landscaping. And I think it's considered to be minor because the required is 50%, and we are asking for 43.4%. The number 8 is the platform. So going to the plan, you can see that the platform is setting back 1.22 from the from the west side, and on the east side, it's very far away from the other neighbors. So I think it won't impact the neighborhood. The 9th variance is the east setback. So the original east setback for the existing house is 0.47, and now we are increasing it, and now it's 0.72. The 10th variance is about the soft landscaping area, which is being eliminated after communicating with the city staff. And the maximum permitted building height, we have taking a look at the surrounding area, and there's some building also being approved for a height more than 10 meters, which I attach with supporting materials. And if you have any question, you could ask me, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, now I have to admit I'm confused here, and
yes,
I'm sure you know what you're saying, but I have, you know, the eliminating the basement, the 3-story no longer required thing. I'd like you to please give us the changes, exactly what you're doing in concert with this 11 variances that you're asking for. Tell me the number of variants and what you're changing it to.
Okay, the only variance that changed is number 10.
Okay, you're changing it to what?
Eliminating this variance according to the after communicating with city staff, and the new site plan is on the supporting material.
Okay, so you want to eliminate number 10. That's the only change you made.
Yes, that's the only change.
The only change. Now you're leaving the 3-story to number 5, 2 and 3-story.
Yes, it's still a 3-story, and I have attached couple of examples in the same area which approved with 3 stories, and also a couple of houses with similar elevation in the same area. By scrolling down, and you could see.
Okay, that's all
That's
I want to
existing
know.
server.
I just want to know what you changed. So all you're changing here
Yes,
is number
that's
10.
the change.
All you change is eliminating number 10. So let's see what the members are saying.
Yes.
Members, there is only based on the application, all she's changing is number 10 was eliminated. Any questions? If no questions, maybe a motion? Mr. Klassen?
Sure. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So after listening to the applicant and reviewing the documents, I'm swayed that it is a 2-story building, but it's a technical 3-story, and the applicant has made the revision requested by city staff, which is to eliminate variance number 10. So I'd like to move, given that these are minor variances, to approve this application subject to variance number 10 being eliminated, and also subject to urban forestry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Bartolo, seconding. All in favor? Opposed? Mr. Tarodi is opposing. Okay, your application is approved, subject to the change you made, eliminating number 10, and subject to forestry.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Mr. Chair, can we get another 10-minute break before the last 2 applications?
Okay. All right. That's a good idea.
A quick
10.
break.
Okay, 10.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back into session. Application number 38, which is 274 Ranee Avenue. Application number 38. And here we have Ida Evangelista. Are you there?
Mr. Chair, I am here. How are you?
Okay, fine, thank you. Just a second. We seem to having some problem in the transmission here. Do you know what's that?
Okay.
It's okay? Okay, we're okay. Thank you. So please state your name and address. We know who you are, but we need it to be recorded on the system.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members. Ida Evangelista, 53 Bentworth Avenue, on behalf of the owners of 274 Ranee Avenue.
Thank you. So we have here an application for severance to two residence lots. And staff report is asking for standard conditions for the severance, as you know. And B, they asking to refuse number 11 for the 2 stories on parts 2 and 3, and also for number 12 for part 1 and 4. And there is the recommendation.
Correct.
Of course. So please go ahead, give us 5-minute presentation and cover all those changes if there are any.
Okay, I will give you a little bit of background why it's a 3-story. It's not. Effectively, it is not an actual 3-story building. The reason why it is being considered a 3-story building is because the basement is closest to established grade than the first floor entry. So that's why it's being considered a 3-story home. But in actual fact, and if you take a look at the plans, you'll see it is only 2 floors. Now, there's a couple of reasons in this area. You'll see there's a submission that I provided that shows pictures of the neighborhood in its entirety. And you'll see that what we're proposing is very characteristic. And you'll also note that homes in the area, they're raised above ground. Now, there's a reason for this, because in this particular area, we have all these little hidden creeks underneath the ground that you don't realize it until the build comes. Now, adjacent to these 2 homes at number 278, which, both Tony and I were both involved in, there were 4 lots here. And that's how we encountered this particular situation, because there is literally a hidden creek that just goes right underneath and passes right around these lots where we're proposing. So that's why we've had to raise the basement a little bit, right? And that's what then, by raising the basement, our basement's now closest to established grade, therefore it's considered a 4-1. But in actual fact, it is not. We have a 2-story, and that is the reason why we're asking for that particular variance. So if we comply, and as you see, staff, they are in agreement with the severance, with all the variances that we're proposing, However, they just weren't sure about this technical variance of the 3-story. So, and as you see, we are okay with forestry's recommendation, number 1. Transportation is also in support of what we are proposing. And this is not, what we have here and what you have here in front of you does not stray at all from homes in the neighborhood and the eclectic lot sizes in the neighborhood. And for that is my presentation. I'm open to any questions that you may have regarding these 3 applications.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't have anybody else registered here. So members, any question? So in other words, you're not eliminating number 11 and 12. It just because you're... Because you're saying
yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, that is correct. We do not want to remove that. It is a technical variant. It is a technical variance, technical situation. So no, we cannot.
Thank you. I understand. Okay. Any question? Members, any question?
Yes. So, just one more time, I want to ask a question regarding this variance 12, which is building height of 10.18 meter versus 8.18 meters. Is that what you want to keep? Through you, Mr. Chair, the variance, planning staff was okay with all the variances. The only variance that they were questioning was, I will tell you exactly, on one, it's variance number 11. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
So on parts 2 and 3, it's variance number 12. And on parts 1 and 4, it is variance, I believe, 11. No, I'm sorry,
No,
I misspoke. It's variance 12 on both. Yeah, it's variance 12 on both. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the hands aren't working today. Variance 12 on both.
Well,
yeah.
I'll help you if you can. 11 is regarding parts 2 and 3, and number 12 is parts 1 and 4. Is that what you've got there?
So. Yes. Yes. So, but it's relating to the 3-story.
Yes.
Should be 2, but it's 3, and that is a technical variance. That's the variance we do want to keep.
Yeah.
And that was the variance that planning was questioning.
Yes.
But we had the conversation, and again, it is a technical variance. We do have to raise the basement. If there wasn't that little, kind of hidden little river creek underneath the ground, we could sink the house further. But then, so between the creek, the elevation of the street, the grading towards the garage, because it's all part and parcel, right? So between the elevation of the street to the front of the garage and to the creek below, we can't dig any further down. And that's why we have this variance.
Okay, and through you, Mr. Chair, one more question regarding the part 2 and 3. It's a variance number 13, which is dealing with the proposed finished first floor height, which you proposed 2.53 versus 1.5, and in the part, which is variance number 13, and in part 1 and 4, the same thing is variance number 14. Would you please explain why you need one more extra meter for the first finished first floor height?
Because it's taken to the center line of the road. So because it's taken to the center line of the road, and just bear with me for 1 second, let me just, so the center line of the road, oh my goodness, it's right here in front of my face. center line of the road is 185.94. So you'll see that 185.94, and then to the garage level is 186.65. So it slopes up, and that's why we're asking for those variances. Both variances are both under the old 7625, and both taken, the measurements taken both from the center line of the road to the midpoint of the roof, and it's lower at the street, and the elevation raises to the house. So it's an undulating, that whole area, again, due to, various anomalies in the neighborhood, that whole area is very undulating. And you'll see it, and it just, to the east and to the west, it slopes north, south, east, and west. It's a very different neighborhood. And that's why we're asking. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the next question is regarding the part 1 and 4, variance number 6. The required minimum lot frontage is 18 meter, and you propose 12.56 meter. Variance number 6 in the part 1 and 4.
Right. Okay. So this is an area that is zoned at 18 meters, and even planning actually recognized the area also. Because again, this is a very eclectic neighborhood where we have some frontages are 12, some are 15, some are 18, and it's all within that block, right? So in this particular block, and you'll also notice the homes adjacent to our proposal at 278. There were actually, there's 2 lots that face RANEE to the west, and 2 lots that face Alchester, which is right behind of the same lot frontage. So this is something that is, I understand that the neighborhood is zoned an 18 meter RD. However, this is an area where, 2 doors over, it's 12 meters, behind it's 15. So it's a very eclectic component in this area.
Mm-hmm. So it's the same. So it's the probably same explanation for part 2 and 3. That the same variance 4. Probably
correct.
The same explanation apply for that one too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's very through you, Mr. Chair. Member, this is something that is. This neighborhood, we have, actually, I live in the neighborhood. So it's a very different mix. We have some, wide and shallow lots. We have some narrow and long lots. It's quite an eclectic mix. And there's a lot of reinvestment that's going into this neighborhood because it is very close to TTC. We have the RANEE subway, which is, a hop, skip, and a jump from these homes. Plus, we have through the walkway adjacent to this home, we have the Yorkdale subway. So this is a neighborhood that's well sought after. Everyone that's coming in here is wanting to do reinvestment in this neighborhood because it is inner city, close to the subway, and we have all types of lot sizes and homes, and everyone gets along. So it's something that is well viewed and well received.
Okay. Any other question?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Klassen. Go ahead.
Yes, it's just to the applicant. You mentioned underground creeks and waterways, and it's always easiest for me to see these things with some evidence as opposed to just a comment. So if there is any evidence of this, that would help me.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Member Clausen, I did share a photo with staff, albeit late, but perhaps maybe I shared it with the main web, Emily and Giovanna. So perhaps if one of them are there, they can share that with you.
It is up on the screen
and it
right
does
now.
show. Perfect. Awesome. Is that Adam? Thank you. And you'll see it goes right through. There's a red line. Let's see if I can. Yeah, that's it. So you see that red line? That red line goes right through where we're proposing. If you see the big Yorkdale Mall, you see that big red line there?
Right.
That runs through? Yeah. So that and where it bends, it kind of, oh my goodness. So it straightens out and then it bends left and it goes through Yorkdale Mall. So below that is where this project is. Through you, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
Member Clausen, is that satisfied?
Well, let's see.
Your
It
comment,
is, thank you.
your question?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's any other question.
No, just a question for you, Mr. Chair. Is it possible we have two motion, one for the severance and one for the variance, or you normally combine them?
Well, generally we like to combine it, but if there is a problem differences, yes, we can separate them.
Thank you.
What could you just keep us what's exactly what I was worried about is the number 11 and number 12 on both things, that they have 3-story, and she explained that 3-story is technical. So you have some other concern?
No, generally I'm asking.
Generally, we like to put it together unless there is a real problem. Why we should separate them?
Okay, thank you.
You don't have a decision for one and decision for the other one. So we like to combine both of them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So any other question? And if no question, can somebody come up with the motion? What's that? Do you know what's that? Oh. You're doing this? I know. I want. Okay, so I have two hands here. You both decide which one was it.
I'll let my colleague go.
Okay, Mr. Bartolo, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in reviewing this application, I think I generally agree with the city staff here, right? I understand some geohydrology conditions. I've encountered it myself, but I'm not certain. Not 100% convinced that we have all the evidence, and I don't think my colleagues are either. But I do believe there's merits to all of that. So I'm gonna go down the path that Ms. Adarati was speaking about in separating this into two motions. My first will be to approve the severances of the properties with the standard conditions noted in the staff reports, conditions 1 through 7 in the recommendation section. And then my second motion will be to defer the application for the minor variances for the two properties to allow the applicant to provide sufficient evidence to satisfy those claims on.
So we'll go back. We'll go back to that. Let's do the severance first. Then we'll go back to the other one.
Sure.
The other members may not agree with that. So let's see severance.
Fair enough.
Do we have
Mr.
any?
Chair,
Okay. Question about severance.
can I just pause this for a second? There are variances for frontage in the minor variance, which means you cannot approve the consent without at least approving the frontage that goes with it.
And the frontage is part of the variant. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So approving the consent without the related minor variances
Yes.
for the reduced frontage isn't technically possible.
Yeah, that's a point. That's a good point. That's why we like to do everything on floor. Thank you. Yeah. So in other words, if you have a problem with the variances the way they are, and you want to defer it, so the whole application has to be deferred. But from what the staff is saying, I didn't see. I mean, the main problem was the variances related to the 3-story. So, what's your motion? Anybody comes up with a motion what they want here?
Mr. Chair, through you, I don't like to hold things up, but I'll put forward a motion to defer the sine die to allow the applicant to get that evidence to satisfy the 3-story condition.
Okay. Do I have a second for that motion? I have a second. Miss Manning. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So the motion is to defer the entire application. Is Sanida, you said?
Why?
Well, this is the.
But we can't. But through you, Mr.
Excuse me, we're in the middle of motion here, and I may agree with you, but that is the motion which is on the floor. So to defer the application, Sanida, you said? Sanida. Okay.
Yes.
And that's for what? In order to check with the staffing, you said?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair. I mean, the basis of the argument was that there's, underground conditions that necessitate this 3rd story. And I'm just not satisfied that we've seen the evidence for that, but I don't want to just throw this application away. I think it has merits, but we want to see that evidence. That's all.
Okay, so sorry, Ms. Evangelista, the application is deferred sine die, and check with the staffing as far as the conditions. Why is 3-story is in fact 3 is technical. So.
Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment? I understand the motion has been passed, and I appreciate it. However, it's a cumulative, decision as to how and why. We also have to take into account the grading of the street compared to to create a 2% slope, so it's not a below-grade garage. It's all part and parcel, as I mentioned. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. Once we make a
Thank
decision,
you.
we can't discuss it.
I understand.
Thank you.
I understand.
Okay,
I understand.
Thank you. Okay, now we are in number 39, which is the last one here. Number 39, which is 9 Haddington Avenue. Application number 39. So, number 39, we have Amir Zahidi. Are you there?
Afternoon, can you hear me?
Yeah, could you please state your name and address for us? Your name and address.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Committee. My name is Amir Zahedi. I am the agent on behalf of the owner. Address is 550 Highway 7, Unit 315. Mr. Chairman, before I begin, if I could kindly ask the city to unmute the homeowner, Mr. Paul Mitchell, who is a registered participant, as he will be speaking on this minor variance application.
Okay, so who's going to be speaking?
The homeowner, his name is Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell, yeah, he's registered there. Okay. So please go ahead, Mr. Mitchell. Can you please identify yourself?
My name is Paul Mitchell.
Yes.
I'm the owner of 9 Haddington. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. And your address is, of course, 9 Haddington, right?
9 Haddington.
Okay.
Correct.
So what do you want to tell us here? We have here the application for 2 rear yard decks. You have 3 variances. The staff report is asking to reduce variance number 1 and 2, and 4 is 3, and we have a number of people to speak here, so give us your 5-minute presentation, and we'll call the other speakers.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair and the committee for taking the time to hear our proposal for the variances. As a prelude, there was an oversight at a recent Committee of Adjustment meeting, which was caught after the notices had already been sent out. As such, we had to defer the meeting and have worked closely with the zoning, examiner, and planning department by providing photos, additional drawings, multiple meetings to finalize the current variance requests and ensure all information is accurate as possible. Our proposal, with respect to our proposal, when we purchased the house 2 years ago. It was a new build, but the last remaining item that wasn't complete was the backyard. It was raw space. It was just a small elevated deck and grass. What we're proposing is finishing the backyard with 2 what we would consider to be reasonably sized decks to enjoy the summer. With respect to the upper deck, there was a small deck accommodating a bistro set and a barbecue, which we removed on the advice of our contractor due to structural issues, and it was specifically twisted joists and electrical problems. We would like to replace and expand that deck slightly to accommodate a love seat and stools along with the barbecue. There is a gas line up there, and this deck runs off our kitchen and our living room. We would like a little bit more space. We certainly don't. It's not our intention to have an entertainment deck up there. We just would like the 5 of us to be able to enjoy a glass of wine or a coffee without going down 22 steps and then up 5 steps to go outside in the backyard. The second deck at grade level is to accommodate an outdoor sofa and chairs. Not excessive, just enough to do that. To our surprise, we were told that we could not do this without a variance given the existing building coverage and setbacks, etc. And I'll say without a variance, my understanding is that we would have to put, say the couch and chairs on the grass, and because we couldn't, get a deck in there, setbacks in the coverage. So in summary, we have worked closely with the city, urban forestry, and our neighboring homes through the process to incorporate as much of their comments and concerns as possible. For urban forestry, we moved the deck to the other side of the backyard to avoid destroying a tree. With respect to all 4 adjacent neighbors, we sent our plans to them well in advance of pursuing this with the city and asked for their feedback. We had 2 of them over to discuss and incorporate their wishes. We have had recent follow-up conversations with all 4 adjacent neighbors and have incorporated their suggestions. We reduced the grade level deck and will incorporate privacy hedges at their request. It is my belief that all 4 are now in agreement or not in opposition. We thank you for your time and consideration.
Now, your 5 minutes is actually on time. It's a nice story, but how it's going to help me? How it's going to help us make a decision based on what the staff report is asking for number 1 and 2. So, does Mr. Amir Zaidi would like to pick it up from there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The items regarding the variances that have been brought forward. So, as variance number 1 goes, we're proposing a lot coverage that's slightly over the allowed amount of 4.6%. Now, it is important here that we take into account the history of the property here, as when the building was being built, there was a variance passed that allowed the building coverage to go over the 35%. So as it stands, the building coverage is at about 36.6%, I believe. Additionally, there was another variance passed to reduce the rear setback, which again is being affected as part of this proposal. So although we are extending the deck at the first floor slightly by about 13 inches, the property would already be over that variance as well. So we're kind of hoping that we can have that same variance readjusted. And additionally, I believe all of the items that the homeowner noted on, the project at hand was, it did include further items which were adjusted due to comments of both planning and urban forestry, as well as the layout of the decks in order to incorporate and not damage or remove, to not remove any of the existing trees, and instead make sure that we are able to protect them to the best of our ability. I hope that answers the questions. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions the committee may have.
Okay, so you're not making any changes, right? You have 3 variances and that's it, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. We'll bring you back. We have a number of people to speak up here. So we have here Sheila Harrison. Sheila Harrison Dunlop, are you there?
Okay, Sheila Harrison Dunlop.
Yes.
And my home address is 118 Fellbridge Avenue.
Thank you. Tell us what's your concern about this application.
Okay, I'm a director of the South Armor Heights Residents Association, known as SARA, and we actively monitor and respond to Committee of Adjustment applications. The 9 Paddington application involves variances for lot coverage, rear yard setback, and platform depth related to 2 decks. This concerns SARA as well as the adjacent neighbors, especially because this would be considered to be a tall house with an elevated deck that's actually at their main floor level, but it is raised in the air. In our opinion, the proposed development is out of line with the controlling bylaws. Decks are causing a major lot coverage increase. And as stated, the house was originally granted a variance by the Committee of Adjustment back in 2014 at 36.6. So this was and still is a significant lot coverage for this particular section of Haddington. We generally don't get into large lot coverage variances over the 35-36% range. We're also very confused as to how the zoning examiner is calculating the lot coverage. We have seen 3 values of considering the same decks, no change in the decks. The first one started off at 47.12%. Then it went down to 44.58%. And now it's landing at 39.6%. We'd like to ask that these various zoning examinations be reviewed for and an outline prepared as to what is causing such significant changes in these calculations and what is the actual true value, as nothing has changed in the size requested for the decks. So we really can't understand this. Adherence to platform bylaws is a very important issue in our neighborhood, as it is impacting on the enjoyment of backyards by many adjacent neighbors, especially with the tall house decks, because they have such an overlook that they really can look over the backyards of many neighbors up and down the street on both sides. So these deck depth bylaws that were specifically devised to avoid these tall houses having unnecessary adverse impacts due to their overlook high up in the air are especially important. And I realize that talking about a depth on the deck of 3.048 might seem meaningless compared to the bylaw that was defined of 2.5, but 2.5 meter depth is still very reasonable for having a spacious deck, and often these decks are almost the full width of the house, or at least a good half of the house. So they're still very large decks. In this situation, we'd be willing to accept the rear yard the rear main floor deck being replaced based on a 2.5 meter depth in keeping with the bylaw. The planning staff report actually recommends that variance number 3 for the second story platform be modified to be under 10 meters, 10 square meters. So whichever, I think, whichever way it was worded, it would likely work out to approximately the same area that would be in play. So we would be willing to support planning's recommendations. And I, again, would ask for clarification on these lot coverage calculations. 39.6% is still a very high lot coverage value in this particular section of Haddington. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We'll see if there's any questions. I can see 39.6. That's better than 44.58, right?
It depends which one's right.
Right, okay. All right, any question to this speaker? Okay, so we have another speaker, Robert Chilson. Are you there?
Mr. Chair, Robert is not on the call.
He's not on call, okay. Thank you. All right, so Mr. Amir or Mr. Paul, could you please come back and answer those questions and concerns?
Chairman, Amir Zahedi here again. If I may respond to the question. In terms of the changes to the lot coverage that has been accounted for, the first time around, and this is actually reported in the city staff's report as well, there was a mistake in calculations and a miscommunication, which was then adjusted. The second time around, it was due to a misunderstanding by the zoning examiner from the plan view dictating what is being completed, what work is being completed, and what is actually covering the land itself. After we deferred the last application, we provided photos from the backyard as well as elevation drawings, further to explain to the zoning examiner the situation and cleared up the entirety of the misunderstanding, which is the reason in lowering the total lot coverage. In addition to this, we also lowered the total coverage of the decks themselves by changing the sizes slightly to further assist with showing good intent in terms of going forward with this variance. The other item I'd like to touch up on is regarding the intrusiveness of these decks on the adjacent neighbors. We do actually have a letter of support from one of the adjacent neighbors, I believe 11 Haddington Avenue, that's on file, as well as as the owner discussed earlier, all of the neighbors were spoken to, none of which have brought forward an objection at this current meeting, and all are in favor, I guess, or neutral in terms of what is being recommended or proposed here for the works.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so what you're asking here, really is no change except the interpretation was not right. Is that correct?
There was a slight change to the square footage of the decks, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
But in addition, the large decrease in the percentage was a misinterpretation that was corrected.
Okay, that's what's right. Okay, thank you. Members, any question for this agent? I think I see some hands, but the thing is, okay, now I see you. Any question? Anyone for questions? No? So can I have a motion then? Anybody for a motion? It's the end of the day. Mr. Klassen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In looking at the documents and listening to the applicant and the other speakers, I'm swayed to conclude that this is minor, that it is keeping with the forecasts, that there aren't adverse impacts. So I'll move to approve this application subject to urban forestry.
Thank you. Second? Mr. Bartolo seconding, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, sir, your application is unanimously approved, subject to only forestry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee for hearing us out. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Thank you. Members, can I have a motion to terminate?
I motion to terminate at 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Second? Okay, all in favor? Whoever wants to stay here, you can stay. No, okay. Thank you. All in favor? 6 o'clock
Have a good-
terminated.
Thanks.
Have a good
Thank
evening,
you,
everyone.
everybody.
This system was playing on us, was really doing on us a, sure.
Goodbye, everyone.